All right, guys, today we're going to talk about inking, the inking process, and just, really 4 quick basic points that we're going to be doing. And then I'll just throw a little time lapse to you. And what I'm using is that right there, that pen. All right, so what I'm talking about is a start and stop point. So say you're starting at the very top. That's your stop right there. So here we go. So start and stop points. So start right here. And that's your stop point right there. Now, that's the second one, is to pull your lines. Always pull your lines. Don't try to push them up. Always pull them. It's easier to bring something toward you than it is to push away. You have less control. This way you have more control. So always pull those lines. It's all about controlling those lines and using the fundamentals and the techniques that you're going to be learning, and just making sure you're using those so you get those good lines. So pull here again. We know where we're going to go. Boom, right there. And another thing is always starting your stroke before you touch the paper. So say this line right here, we're going to go and we're just going to go all the way around. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna start right here, and it's almost like artists always use this example, but as a plane taking off, right? You're coming in for the landing. You're coming in for the landing, but you land, right? You land on the paper. I can't do it because this is a ink pen, so I'm gonna ruin the paper. But you're coming in for a landing with the plane, and then you're taking off again. You come in a landing, kissing that surface, right? And you're taking off again. That's what you always want to get when you're running a line, usually, unless you have a place where you're stopping. But so that's what we'll do right here. We're gonna start our stroke before we even hit the paper. You always do that. It's a very nuanced technique. See that? Do it again. Starting your stroke beforehand. Starting your stroke beforehand. So those are nice little solid lines right there. That's your third tip, is to start your stroke before you even touch the paper. Right here, we'll do this. And it's just something you get used to as time goes on. You're going to be real timid at first, but it's just something you get used to. Now, here's the fourth tip that I think is one of the most important tips. This is the tip where it's that one critical mistake that makes artists and their inking it makes it very weak. Now, it's a long one, so hear me out. The most critical mistake you can make while inking is to change direction at all, or to stop or dig in too much into the paper. So sometimes I'll see artists, and I do it myself. This is a mistake that I've been trying to learn over time. But I'll see artists will do this line, and they'll what path you have to go, right? But they will be timid about it, and they'll go too slow. And when you go too slow, your pen is going to start changing directions because there's little tiny grooves in your paper. And then that tip of that pen or that point, it's going to start following those little grooves. And you're just pressing way too hard, and so you're digging into those grooves, and it's changing direction. Now, that's the worst thing you can possibly do. What you need to do is your pen stroke should never go off the tracks. Now, sometimes it's going to, but at least you can change the shape a little bit. You can change the shapes of this drawing. You can change it up just a little bit, and it'll still look right. But what's not going to look right is if this smooth, armor right here, it doesn't look smooth. That's what's not going to look right. So what you want to do is just make sure you never change direction. And so that means you can't ink too slow, and you also can't dig in too much into that paper. You have to have a nice, good pressure under that. And usually, as a little secret that all artists have, is you either put a piece of paper, or I have chipboard right here, and it kind of softens that surface right there. So it already has that natural you'll know what I mean when you do it, because when you have it like right here, it's just, you will feel like a slight texture and grooves from this, because this is not perfectly flat either. Sometimes a lot of surfaces aren't, so you got to be careful what you do. So if to smoothen out those things, you usually use another piece of paper, this and that, and it'll smoothen out those things that I told you. And so the reason why you're either inking too slow or you're slightly changing direction is because you don't trust your hand and you don't trust yourself to make that line. The best thing you can possibly do is trust your hand to follow through with that curve. And that's for the first tip, is you have to visualize your stop and your start point. So we're going to stop right here, we're going to start right here. So here we go, we're going to hit this line. And remember, all of these things are going to be happening all at the same time. You always have to be aware of, the start and stop points. The pulling the lines whenever you can instead of pushing the lines, and also, coming in with a moving stroke before you even hit the paper. These are all things you really need to be aware of at all times. And again, like the fourth point that I wanted to make is that we were touching upon right there is you have to trust that your hand can pull that stroke. You have to trust that you can meet those lines. And when you're doing especially curves and lines, like that shoulder right there, you have to trust that. Pretty much you have to make sure that your hand never, like I was saying, changes direction. You can never stop. If you ever stop during a curve, like even like a circle, and you'll know what I mean eventually when you start doing a lot more circles and you listen to these techniques. I mean, just try it. Just give it 10 tries. Do a few ellipses or a few circles or a few curves, and just try not stopping. I mean, trust me, it sounds crazy, but just try not stopping that line, pulling that line. Just try to make that whole ellipse, try to make that whole circle without stopping, and just trust your hand. Just keep your hand moving and try to make those lines. Your hand's not going to trust your hand and your mind, whatever it is, eye-hand coordination. It's not going to trust. They're not going to meet, at first. But trust me, little by little, you're gonna feel these nuances, and you're gonna get that muscle memory down, and you're gonna meet those lines. You're gonna be surprised that you can even, do a circle in one line. Now it's going to take you some time, but trust me, I started to do it a lot more, and the amount of success that I've had with it has been relatively high. And since I've been doing this, just the times that I hit that line compared to not hitting it before even trying it and trusting my hand, it's just night and day. So I mean, that tells me that that was kind of control. You know what I mean? I've been paying attention, and I know that actually works. So sometimes to hit those curves, you really do have to trust yourself to hit those curves. Just don't stop your hand from moving. Trust that you can hit these lines. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. And I do want to ask that you just hit that bell notification if you do enjoy the video, and I will come back hopefully within a month's time and give you even better videos as time goes on. I'm just very busy right now. I appreciate you watching. Thanks. Bye bye.